edition of the CBB Review Studio podcast. I am Dan Siegel coming to you with 5 takeaways from week 6 in college basketball here on Sunday, December 15th. Let's get started. Takeaway number 1, several fan bases earned bragging rights for a year. On Saturday, there were several rivalry games that were decided. Couple that I want to talk about: Kentucky 93, Louisville 85. Lamont Butler returning from injury with 33 points. We know Kentucky is well coached. We know they run good stuff. We know that Mark Pope will maximize their talent a lot more than Coach Calipari did. But we saw a taste of what a superstar performance could look like for Kentucky. We also had Rutgers beat Seton Hall in the battle for New Jersey, 66-63, the final in that. Now, Rutgers is objectively not the greatest team in college basketball, but Dylan Harper with his 24, Ace Bailey with his 21 in this game make them must-see TV. Dylan Harper also hit the buzzer beater 3 to put them on top. Other rivalry games: Xavier beat Cincinnati, final score 68-65. This was an ugly game, to be honest. I am not a huge fan of either of these teams and how they play, but Cincinnati now at 8-1 and continuing to rack up wins. Also going on this week, we had Georgetown beat Syracuse in that game, 75-71. It was the Jaden Epps show. Jaden Epps with the season high 27 points. Oklahoma 80, Oklahoma State 65. Oklahoma staying undefeated. And then Iowa State 89, Iowa 80. That one went on Thursday. Speaking of Oklahoma and they're undefeated, that brings us to our second takeaway. The undefeated watch is down now to 5 teams. There are 5 teams who have yet to take a loss in college basketball, that being Utah State, Florida, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. All those 4 teams are 10-0. We also have 9-0 Drake, who is yet to take a loss. Couple teams I want to talk about from this past week. Florida, they grabbed a convincing win over Arizona State, 83-66. Florida, the key with them, they hadn't played anybody prior to this weekend, but they ended up, like I said, beating Arizona State. As long as their backcourt stays healthy, this is a very legitimate team. Walter Clayton now with back-to-back games of 25 points. Now, Tennessee, they stayed alive, undefeated, number 1 in the AP poll behind Jordan Gainey, who had nearly half of his team's points off the bench in a road win against Illinois. Again, not the best team in the country, in my opinion, but they are certainly legit. They deserve AP poll-wise to be ranked number 1. I think they are a true talent, top 5 team. The reason I bring up the undefeated watch coming down is because UC Irvine took their first loss this weekend in their first top 100 test, a road game against Oregon State, losing 67-55. Still, though, this is a team, UC Irvine that will be a heavy favorite in the Big West to come out of that conference in March and could very easily run the table. So an exciting team nonetheless in California. Our third takeaway, let's move on. The Atlantic 10 is the A10 back. I think it might mean now. I do have to admit there are some bad teams in this conference. Duquesne, definitely one of them. My UMass Minutemen, definitely another one of them. But there's a really heavy top half in this conference. I mean, VCU is as good as expected. They already have a few power conference wins. Dayton just grabbed a massive win hosting Marquette. They also have a win over UConn this year. They played North Carolina super close. We're up by double digits in a lot of that. Their only losses are to UNC and Iowa State by a combined 7 points. But I think outside of Dayton, outside of VCU, the expecteds, the big storyline is the unexpecteds and how they've performed in the non-con. You have St. Bonaventure at 10-1. You have URI at 10-1. Loyola Chicago is 8-0. Davidson has some solid wins at 8-2. Even St. Louis and St. Joe's, who the teams that have racked up a few losses to date, they have some upside. This A10 could legitimately be a 3-bid league for the first time since 2018. Takeaway number 4, it's the inevitable. UConn is still very much relevant. They grabbed A big win over top 10 Gonzaga at Madison Square Garden this weekend. Final score 77-71. It was the breakout game for the freshman Liam McNeely. He had 26 points. Now, personally, I don't think they deserve to be in the top 25 prior to this week with 3 losses in Maui, but I think I will put them in the top 25. Now they're 18 in the real AP poll and beating Gonzaga coming off of wins over Baylor and Texas. That is huge for UConn. Now, they did have a lot of issues defensively. That is still the case. They're giving up over 37% from three. Part of that is due to poor rotations, poor communications defensively. Part of that is due to unfavorable shooting variance, just pure unluckiness, teams getting hot against them. I think their defense is showing signs of improvement. I think their offense is certainly showing signs of improvement. They're figuring it out. In my opinion, UConn is still the team to be in the Big East. Now, for our fifth takeaway, we got to get into the Big Ten and how they are giving us more questions than answers. It seems this way every single week. I mean, who is really the best team in the conference? You ask me? I'll say Michigan. Michigan is sneaky. They are running picks and rolls with 2 7-footers. Danny Wolf, the ball handler. I mean, that is super hard to defend. That is a mismatch factory right there. But they're still growing under their first-year head coach, Dusty May. So you ask me, I say Michigan. But you ask the computers, and they'll probably tell you Illinois. I mean, Illinois, top of Ken Pom in the Big Ten, top of Torvik in the Big Ten, but they have racked up 3 losses. Ask the AP poll. They'll say Oregon. Oregon's the top team. They only have 1 loss, and they're the top team in the AP poll. I just don't think that's sustainable. And you ask me, like, I think the Big Ten, a very good conference, the 3rd best conference in college basketball. But who's to say they're not just going to have 9 bids and all of them be 5 seeds or worse? Because that's what we're looking like. And there you have it, my 5 takeaways from this past week. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. CBB Review will have more content churned out for you there. And take care.